SafeerTV, and we are broadcasting live from the holy land of Kufa. Right now we are sitting in Masjid al-Kufa, which has such great esteem in the ahadith and in the traditions. Tonight is the sad night, the night of the wafat of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and our dear brother Sheikh Ali is going to start off with a short ziyarah of the Prophet. Tafadhal.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Dear viewers, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين أبي القاسم محمد المصطفى صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أنك رسول وأنك محمد بن عبد الله، وأشهد أنك قد بلغت رسالات ربك ونصحت لأمتك وجاهدت في سبيل الله بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وأديت الذي عليك من الحق، وأنك قد رأفت بالمؤمنين وغلظت على الكافرين وعبدت الله مخلصا حتى أتاك اليقين، فبلغ الله بك أشرف محل المكرمين. الحمد لله الذي استنقذنا بك من الشرك والضلال. اللهم صل على محمد وآله، واجعل صلواتك وصلوات ملائكتك وأنبيائك والمرسلين وعبادك الصالحين وأهل السماوات والأراضين ومن سبح لك يا رب العالمين من الأولين والآخرين على محمد عبدك ورسولك ونبيك وأمينك ونجيبك وحبيبك وصفيك وصفوتك وخصتك وخالصتك وخيرتك من خلقك، واعطه الفضل والفضيلة والوسيلة والدرجة الرفيعة، وابعثه مقاما محمودا يغبطه به الأولون والآخرون. اللهم إنك قلت ولو أنهم إذ ظلموا أنفسهم جاءك فاستغفروا الله واستغفر لهم الرسول لوجدوا الله توابا رحيما. إلهي فقد أتيت نبيك مستغفرا تائبا من ذنوبي، فصل على محمد وآله واغفرها لي يا سيدنا. أتوجه بك وبأهل بيتك إلى الله تعالى ربك وربي ليغفر لي. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. أصبنا بك يا حبيب قلوبنا، فما أعظم المصيبة بك حيث انقطع عنا الوحي، وحيث فقدناك فإن لله وإنا إليه راجعون. يا سيدنا يا رسول الله، صلوات الله عليك وعلى آل بيتك الطاهرين. هذا يوم السبت وهو يومك يا رسول الله، وأنا فيه ضيفك وجارك، فأضفني وأجرني فإنك كريم تحب الضيافة ومأمور بالإجارة، فأضفني وأحسن ضيافتي وأجرنا وأحسن إجارتنا بمنزلة الله عندك وعند آل بيتك وبمنزلتهم عنده وبما استودعكم من علمه، فإنه أكرم الأكرمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
We welcome you, dear viewers, to the show, and we want to send our condolences first of all to the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Zaman, on the sad nights on the passing of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it is on a night like this that divine revelation was stopped, and that the best of all of creation went back to his Lord. It would be a night like this where Sayyidah Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha would be sad and crying over her father. So, we welcome you, dear viewers, and tonight we will be discussing about the life of the Prophet and some of the aspects and qualities of his life. And we'll also be continuing with the Thirst for Change campaign, where we'll be looking for your help and support to continue such programs. If you've been watching the shows, we've been doing live broadcasts from the lands of Karbala, from Najaf, from Kufa. We've had some excellent children's programs and some lectures. And so tonight we'll be looking for your help and assistance and continuing and doing a discussion on the life of the Holy Prophet, inshallah.
My dear brother, also would like to inform our dear viewers, for any of you dear viewers who would like to support SafeerTV in continuing in the path of Tabligh, in helping Islam and propagating the message of Islam, we have a number for you, 0203 51 51 110. You may call and offer your donations. Also, we are in need of 400 individuals to donate £100 for short-term coverage to cover the expenses of SafeerTV. The main reason for the donation is because SafeerTV was mainly sponsored by private donors, but now we have no choice, and we are in need of your support. And even the slightest amount of donation will be very helpful for our channel. Unfortunately, these are difficult times, and we must cover expenses that are needed for SafeerTV to continue broadcasting. It is known that the channel requires up to £40,000 per month to cover its expenses. So we are in deep help of you, dear viewers. So any kind of donation will be very helpful for us. Yes, Brother Hussein, my apologies, please continue.
So we wanted to talk shortly about the life of the Prophet, and just to start off a short discussion, maybe something very simple, like why the life of the Prophet inspires you, or something about the Prophet that inspires you. If you'd like to share with me and the viewers.
Well, by all means, obviously for us Muslims, the Holy Prophet is a beacon of light, knowledge, inspiration, and of course every person is inspired in his life. Through every aspect, the Holy Prophet ﷺ had a lesson for us. His Sunnah, his Ahlul Bayt, they constantly, through their lives, have taught us how to interact with human beings and how to act and behave within a society. I would say personally, my biggest inspiration in considering these difficult times would be the mercy and patience of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That throughout his life, we won't go far-fetched if we were to say that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was troubled in his life, very troubled, and he had gone through obstacles and many difficulties. And we might say that from all the prophets that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent, that our Holy Prophet had to go a lot more and had to be very patient. It was a very difficult time for him. So I would say that my inspiration would be his mercy and patience, and how he always showed mercy to his enemies of Allah, enemies of Islam. He would show patience with the people. Many were ignorant back in those days, Mecca and Medina, and he had to be affiliated with all the situations that our Holy Prophet always knew what had to be done, and always knew the path that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose for him. And alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, through this lesson of mercy, that no matter what we do to any individual or within society, whatever we do, always the niyyah should be qurbatan ila Allah ta'ala. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through the Holy Prophet, showed us that whatever you do in this life, never expect anything from people. Always expect your rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And from the aspect of patience, we see that the Holy Prophet, the amount of patience, only Allah and Imam Ali and Ahlul Bayt, they know the amount of patience that the Holy Prophet had to go through. And he had to always think that Islam was at stake in all situations, in every aspect of his path, that patience was one of his main weapons. Because indeed, Inna Allaha ma'as-sabirin, indeed Allah is with the patient. And many times in his life we've seen that the Prophet has been into dead ends. But through his patience, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened the way and guided him through victory and eventually the triumph of Islam over the disbelievers. I would say that's. How about you? What would your inspiration be, Sheikh Hassan?
For me, it's something very small, but it was the Prophet's simplicity. He was very simple, but his simplicity had a very big impact on society. Even when he would be sitting with his companions and an outsider came from out of town, he didn't know who the Prophet was, he'd have to inquire from the group, which one of you is the Prophet? He never sat in an arrogant way. If you look at leaders nowadays, they're in palaces and they're in castles and it's very obvious to know. But the Prophet was so humble, he'd sit with his companions, he'd sit with the people in such a way that the outsiders wouldn't know. And just his general akhlaq is so inspiring for us, and things that we can take lesson from, that he'd speak very specific and very precisely to the point. He'd never cut up anyone when they were speaking. He'd always be smiling when speaking. And there's something that I found in that hadith which really I was intrigued by. It mentioned that the Prophet would never look, when someone was speaking to him, he'd never look at them with half-closed eyes. I was trying to think, what does that really mean, half-closed eyes? But when you think of someone who's asking for something or has a question, they'd have their eyes wide open and they're trying to give all their energy to the person they're asking the question to. So when the Prophet was being asked a question or he was being spoken to, he'd give the other person their full attention. He wouldn't be pretending to sleep or have his eyes closed. So in this aspect, it was the simplicity of the Prophet. And also it mentions that when he used to enter a gathering, he'd sit in the first available space. He wouldn't try and sit in a position where everyone would see him. So just this simple nature. And it mentions in a hadith that sometimes the one who's most simple will be seen as something very small, but really in the eyes of Allah he's very high. So this is something that inspires me about the Prophet and his life, and something that I feel that I can really implement. Sometimes you see things about the Prophet would be very hard to implement, but especially in patience and things like that, it takes a lot of time to implement. But just going back to your point about how the Prophet was, how merciful he was. I mean, it mentions in the Quran that the Prophet was sent as a mercy to mankind. And this, like you said, the mercy also went to the enemies, even Wahshi, who killed his uncle in the battle of Badr. Afterwards he forgave him, and this is something not easy for a layman to do, especially and the Prophet forgave him, and this is something that is remarkable that we find from our Prophet.
Yes, indeed. Would like to inform our dear viewers, for any of you that have just joined us tonight, we are here to commemorate the martyrdom of our Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we are right here in the holy mosque of Kufa, a very precious place for us Muslims. And we would like to inform you that we are ongoing on the campaign of Thirst for Change, which is a fundraising campaign for SafeerTV, which is deeply in need for support through your viewers. Dear viewers, again, I would like to point out that SafeerTV has been broadcasting for the past 5-6 months a variety of lectures and kids programs and live shows in Iraq, in the Holy Lands of Karbala and Najaf and Kufa. And we are trying to fundraise for SafeerTV in order that they may be able to continue their work and perform tabligh in the sake of Islam, Allah and Ahlul Bayt sallallahu alayhim. For any of you dear viewers who would like to donate and support SafeerTV, you could call the phone number, which is 0203 51 51 110. 0203 51 51 110. And any amount is important. It's not relevant. Even £10 could be very beneficial and helpful for our channel. These are indeed difficult times, and I'm just repeating the facts that SafeerTV also is in need of 400 individuals to donate £100 for short-term coverage in order to comment and with the demand of the broadcasting expenses, which come up to £40,000 a month, which for any normal person would think that's a lot.
Yes.
But that's why we are in need of our dear viewers in order to help us support SafeerTV and continue broadcasting and providing us Muslims in England and Africa and America, in Europe, wherever Muslims are available and would like to view programs that are being provided by SafeerTV. Yes, my dear brother Hussein.
And so just to let me continue with the SafeerTV in itself, it has an amazing aim, and the aim is to spread the message of Islam and Ahlul Bayt in an unbiased manner. So this is something very important. There's no hidden agenda. It's not associated with any particular party. Its main aim is to just the tabligh and the spreading of the true Islamic knowledge.
Independent and honest.
Independent, which is something I really appreciate.
Yes.
And there's children's programs. I love the Pip show, and especially it's quite windy up here. Especially when Pip speaks to scholars, I really enjoy that, and I've seen a lot of kids love that show so much. And also, it shows that scholars are human. Also, they have a sense of humor,
yes.
and it allows to bridge a gap. So it's something that I find that's very important. And in the future, there's a lot of aims that SafeerTV has. One thing is being able to increase their broadcasting range to other countries. Also, there's a lot of ideas in the pipeline, more children's shows, more lectures, more documentaries. So the funds that we're looking for will go to these avenues, and inshallah it will be beneficial to those who are watching, and also maybe act as a form of thawab al-jari for the person donating.
By all means, yes, yes. Ahsan, that is very true. Okay, as we know, tonight it is a very sad night for us Muslims, and even for Ahlul Bayt. Since we could use some of this time and maybe discuss a bit more about the life of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and maybe derive out of his life some examples for us how to interact and how to communicate within ourselves and within the community, Muslim or non-Muslim. So maybe we could go through a bit of Rasulullah's life.
That's a very good idea.
And try and derive some lessons, or even our viewers, we may have some younger viewers, we may have our older viewers that already know, but as we always say, that remembrance is always helpful because it continues, inspires us and gives us the motivations to strive and try to maintain in the right path. It's very difficult times, and especially people living outside the Muslim communities within America and Europe. Although there are plenty of Islamic groups, it is very difficult for Muslims nowadays to maintain their faith. So we must always remind ourselves, read and try to have in our hearts and in our minds the akhlaq, the attributes of the Holy Prophet and Ahlul Bayt sallallahu alayhim. So I would say we would start, shouldn't go very in depth, we just go roughly around the subject of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So first question would be, what was the Holy Prophet like? What was he like? What was special about the Holy Prophet? We know he was a messenger, he was a prophet, but what made him special within his society? What was he like?
I think one thing that stands out in the life of the Prophet is his manners and characteristics. Even himself, he mentions in one hadith, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتِمَّ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. Verily I was sent to complete the noble traits, the noble characteristics. And this is seen in the society that he was sent. It was very much free from any form of morals. There was many things that were taking place in the society which we're now finding in this society, in our societies in England and in America. There's a lot of facade, a lot of corruption. So the Prophet to come into that society and bring morals. And this is one thing that I feel had a big impact on his society, especially where he would come, and first he had to have the moral characteristics within himself and show them amongst the people for them to actually accept them and cause the change.
Yes.
So even before he announced his prophethood, he was known as Sadiq al-Amin. It's very well known that these were his titles. He was truthful and he was trustworthy. That he was always known to tell the truth, and the people would always leave their valuables with him. And the interesting thing is about that is that even after he declared his prophethood, a lot of people started attributing with him with such terrible names. So things like they'd call him a madman, they'd call him a magician, they'd call him a liar, astaghfirullah. But even still, so they would still give him their valuables to look after, because
that's not very rational if you think about it.
It's not very
person,
rational
right?
at all.
If someone would have a certain idea for someone of being insane, you wouldn't trust him with your valuables.
Yeah.
But that's I guess one of the big points that we have against Quraysh at that time is that you considered the Holy Prophet ﷺ to be the trustworthy, to be honest, and still you would disobey. You wouldn't listen to him. You would still trust your valuables, your gold, your money to him, but you wouldn't accept what he had to give, what he had to say. And that's something that any rational person these days, any day, how would you accept it? I mean, it's even in logic, negative with negative could not bring you positive.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Even
yes.
During the lifetime of the Prophet in Ghadir, he asked his companions, if I was to tell you there's an army behind this mountain, what would you say? We said, we'd believe you. And he said, even if you didn't see it, he said, we'll question our eyesight before we question your truthfulness. So this is how much the Prophet clung to the truth.
This is indeed, it is very amazing how human nature is. It's honestly, it's sad and surprising, and what to say.
And, from one of the, just continuing talking about the truth, I just remembered a nice point that in Du'a Maqarim al-Akhlaq, as the Prophet said, he came down to complete the noble moral traits. And one of the things that we ask for during this du'a is وَالْقَوْلُ بِالْحَقِّ وَلَوْ إِنْ عَزَّ. And this is speaking the truth even if it is against myself. But inshallah, within the next couple of minutes, we're going to be going for a short break.
Yes.
And so we'll ask the viewers to stay online, and just to remind them once again that we are on the Thirst for Change campaign, and that this is the sad night of the Shahada of the Holy Prophet, and inshallah we'll continue very shortly. It's not quite time yet.
Inshallah, we'll be back to continue our discussion.
Inshallah. So just to remind the viewers that if they do want to make a donation, the number is 0203 5151 110. And so if they have any questions, they can call up the donation line. If they'd like to set up a direct debit, it would be very much helpful for the campaign.
or for any information, they could visit the website www.SafeerTV.com/donate, or within the homepage you could be led there, and you could read more about the donation and the aims of SafeerTV for the future, and any other aspects of information that you would like to acquire, inshallah.
Inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.